Tried that?
No.
You start out all big and spaced apart and then squish and
It's the way it
small.
works. It works like that. Funny. All right, Todd Connitz here. Welcome to the vlog. And I am happy to be sitting here with my lovely wife, Sheila. I was getting ready to do a vlog video, and actually I've been really tired today, and she had a long day as well. And so we got back and we were sitting there talking, and we're both tired. And it came to our attention that when we were talking and discussing through things, that a lot of times it comes back to something we had mentioned earlier in another episode of the vlog. Correct?
Right. In our lover video, we talked about this came up a little bit, and so I thought, well, we could just explain that today.
Because it would be something beneficial to a lot of us regarding relationship with children, relationships with each other, possibly relationships at work.
Absolutely, relationships at work.
We just thought we'd take and expand upon the flooding concept just so you could have the opportunity to really dive into that. And then if you have further questions on what we were talking about, communication and why that's important and how we communicate with each other, in the lover video, you can click up above and you can go straight to that video to have an expansive look at that. So Sheila, why don't you explain flooding?
Well, flooding is the easiest way to describe it, and this is something that a friend of ours taught us long ago, and it's just really been helpful for us through our marriage and through raising kids. And flooding is basically when you stop thinking and you start feeling. When your brain is kind of like flooded with all sorts of emotions and feelings, that you just kind of turns the thinking mechanism off. So we kind of have an illustration of what that would look like. So,
and we use this illustration because it just made sense, especially when we were raising little kids and those little kids continued to just like flood, and then we had to figure out, okay, what do we do with this?
Yeah.
And then what happens is as the kids grow and our relationship grew, we started seeing correlations between them and then our relationship. And so this illustration kind of illustrated that. So
yeah.
Go ahead.
Well, it even goes back to our conversation in our lover video about the socks. You know, it's never just about the socks. It's always about something else. So the illustration of flooding basically is saying, you know, throughout the day, so if this is your life, this is your brain, this is the capacity that you have of emotion. So throughout the day, you're at work or different things happen and things just start to fill up your emotional bank for the day, and there's a lot going on. And then you come home and your children tell you something about what happened at their day at school, and then your husband comes home and he wants to know what's for dinner, and then there's all these things happening, and then your husband throws the socks on the floor, and then my vessel is over flooded with emotion, and so then I'm just spewing out and frustrated about the socks, when it was never about the socks. It was about all the stuff that was taking up my emotional space for the day.
So then I go and I ask her a silly question, and she cannot put anything else in this.
No.
And then all of a sudden she blows up. As she's blowing up, I'm like, oh my gosh, what am I supposed to do with all that? And we actually use the term as like, I can't talk right now because I am flooded. Meaning that my emotions are on a gamut and I cannot put anything else in here to have a conversation with you that would be meaningful. So what we normally do is we take a break, and we discussed that a little bit in the last video.
Yeah.
And the only way that you can put more into this is that you have to find a way to dump some of it out. Now it doesn't have to be completely empty. It might be a half hour, maybe an hour, that we come back to, even with our children.
Yeah.
When they're banging their head against the wall or throwing Barbies at you because they're mad and they're completely flooded, they need to have time to pour some of that out, so then you can actually have that conversation.
Yeah, trying to have a conversation with somebody when they're flooded is, well, you often hear people say, well, you can't talk with an irrational person right now. They're not irrational, they're just irrational at this moment because they cannot think. Their emotions have taken over. So this is when people make really bad decisions, when they try to make a decision when they're flooded, because they're only feeling, they're not thinking. So you never want to make a decision. That's when people they say things like, I'm quitting my job, I'm just walking out of here, or I'm done with this marriage, and you just walk out. It's because you were in an emotional state and you made a decision. So you never want to make a decision in an emotional moment like that. You want to take some time, get rid of some of the ingredients in your bucket of just kind of decompressing and thinking through some stuff so that you have room then and capacity to continue on with the conversation.
Logical. Now, like I said, you didn't get rid of it all. It's not always the case where you feel completely unflooded. It's just that you've gotten able to have the discussion. A lot of times for men, we run and hide, and we'll either A, some of us will go drink, or B, some of us think that we need to have emotional stability somewhere else because we're flooded, we don't feel like our spouse is listening to us. It's just this, if you have this in your head on this capacity, then it allows you to actually say, oh look, we can come back to this, just give me a moment. And now we have the same terminology that we can understand each other.
Yeah.
And then we're like, okay, I do need to because what happens is you're flooded like this. This happened in our marriage. Not that we have the perfect marriage, but we're flooded, right? And then I'm like, I just need a break. I need to get away. And then she turns and then she follows me. I'm trying to get away and she's following me and I'm still flooded. And yeah, that didn't work.
Yeah, I was trying to still make my point, and so that he would hear me. He wasn't capable of hearing me because he was flooded. And so it helped to be able to have that word to say, okay, I'm flooded. I just need some time so that we can come back and have a conversation about this logically.
Because then she was like, okay, he is listening. He's not ignoring. And that goes back to our lover conversation. So then she felt like she was at least being validated that I heard. It's just that I was not available to pour into that any longer. I couldn't. There was nothing that I had. My emotions were just a mess. And
It's kind of like when you come home from work and I have things that I want you to help me make some decisions on things, and what about this and what about that, and we could do this or we could do that, and you're like, whoa, that's too much for me. It's just the same thing. It's you are full, you can't, there's just too much going on and you just need a little bit of time to decompress. And that's been interesting with our children though, because that's when children have those temper tantrums. And when a child's having a temper tantrum, then it takes the parent and you flood that. So then you're yelling at the child and that only floods them more. So it's a vicious
circle. So the kid's
circle.
flooded, you're flooded, everyone's yelling. The spouse starts yelling because they flood in the emotions. And then nobody can articulate why they're so upset.
Yeah.
And once you have something that you can articulate, that's good. Now, as we develop and we grow and we get bigger and we start understanding, the goal is that our vessel becomes bigger. So
Right, so that's a part of growth. So you trade this vessel in for this size of vessel because your capacity grows as you're able to have the conversations, as you're able to understand fully.
I'm gonna make a mess.
Wouldn't be the first time. So your capacity, so the goal would be you need to have a larger vessel than your child, right? That makes it, when your child's capacity is this and they're going to dump their entire day into you, you still have room for all the stuff that you had today. So we have to grow as humans to be able to build our emotional and capacity to handle what other people are dumping into us. And that's simply like, you can't be on the receiving end all the time. People just needing more and more and more. And I think as women, we struggle with that because we have demands at work, we have demands with our spouse, we have demands with our children, and it feels like somebody always wants something from us. We just have to figure out a way to recharge ourselves so that our vessel grows and we have capacity to handle all of that.
I think that comes back to, this vlog is going to be long, but it's good. So I think it also comes back to our conversations where, as you're a full-time working mom and not a stay-at-home mom, you've often come home and you're like, look, I've had to do all the things you've had to do today. I've had meetings, I've had to make, important decisions, and yet when I come home, I'm still thinking in my mind, I got to get the kids ready for school tomorrow. Now I got to cook dinner. Then we got to worry about laundry. And whereas the man, he's more compartmentalized and he doesn't take all of that big picture in. So the flooding component floods in it, because then I ask you a question like, ah, right?
You need one more thing.
I don't
one
need-
more person that needs something from me today.
I don't need to do. And then I was like, oh yeah. So it wasn't just about the socks.
No.
So in the goal, I think, not to bring Christ into it all the time, because a lot of people aren't believers, but the goal is that as you mature and grow, that you become even a bigger vessel. And I think that love of God funnels in, that he can hear and he can work with us. And I think that's kind of this is just a cool illustration on how we've been able to manage. And again, it was taught to us. We did not know this. It's like trying to learn about money. We did not learn about communication in school, and you learn about it through your parents and what you've been taught. And sometimes, no offense to the parents, they were taught by their parents, and so you cannot grow maturely without someone helping along that way.
Yeah, so our tip for today is to understand that flooding is when you stop thinking and you just start feeling, and to call that within your relationship that I am flooded. And so you take a time out to empty out so that you have capacity to have a conversation about something, and never make a decision when you're flooded.
And if you're confused about lovering, watch the other video, because I think that feeds into this communication style as well.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
thank you, dear, for helping with the vlog today. Really appreciate it.
Always here to bail you out.
She bailed me out this time. We're still on a roll, peeps.
How many
So,
left?
Like 8 for the month.
Okay.
After this
I
one.
think you can do it.
I know, and this is such valuable information. Feel free to share. I think that, not that, like I said, we're not perfect, but I really feel this content is so important just in today in itself. So feel free to share that. So,
Yeah, that's helped us in our marriage, and we hope it can help you.
And my wife is lovering me right now by helping. So, all right, thanks so much, peeps. Sorry for me being tired and not doing something crazy, but I think she brought up this point tonight, and it's been fabulous, and I hope it blessed you as well. So, with that being said, I am out.